Hello, everyone. Welcome to Games, Guts, and Gore. I am joined by the very talented and infamous director, Uwe Boll. How you doing, man?
Good. Dark in Germany, but daytime at your place, so it's all good.
Yes, exactly. Gotta squeeze it in before that big flight, big day tomorrow. But I appreciate you making the time for me, man. It means a lot.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm always happy if I can tell a little about my career or tell about like upcoming movies like Run this weekend, November
There you
14th.
go.
Run will be on Amazon, Apple, and Google Play. So I hope people will watch it, right? So with Amanda Plummer,
Absolutely.
James Russo, and some other famous actors.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely delve into that a little bit later too. But one thing I always love to start off is the first question. What was your first introduction to horror?
Think about when I'm already now 60 years old this year. Oh God, now I'm officially old. But I tried to stay fit, let's say it this way. But I grew up actually when I was like 15, 16 with the first big
Yeah.
horror wave, Friday the 13th, Halloween. They're all of that time, Man Eater, and of course the George R. Romero, Dawn of the Dead. That was all in this time period in the 70s and 80s, you can say.
Yeah.
So I faked my ID, the school ID, to get into that movies, even if I was only like 13, 14 years old. And then I watched the movies, John Carpenter, The Thing, and all this kind of movies. That's how I grew up on horror. So,
Wow.
that I didn't make only horror movies later as a director is, of course, you change over time when you get older. But horror was really like the biggest genre for me when I was between like 12 and 22 years old. Definitely.
Wow. So
Yeah.
very central to who you are. I mean, those movies, I mean, they're timeless, they're classic. I mean, I'm only 22, but growing up, my my uncles, especially my mom, they grew up throughout the 80s, and my mom not so much. She didn't want to show me right away, but my uncles were really excited, me being like the first kid in this new generation, to introduce me to all the things they loved. And like, so I was watching Friday and Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween for basically since I can remember. And for me, Friday is always one of those movies that like that's always my favorite. That's my go-to. That's like a warm blanket. It's such a comfort to me to watch those movies. Like when I'm sick, I'll throw on like Friday the 13th Part 4 or something, you know?
But think about it. When we went in the time where I was like a teenager, right? So
Yeah.
it was the first time that this kind of gore and blood effects ever happened. Hollywood before was very tuned down. You had some zombies running around, but when George R. Romero came, where you actually see you bite a chunk out of an arm, that never
Yeah.
happened. Like splatter in a way, like Sam Raimi or Evil Dead and all that stuff. That was that wave, the first wave of no, we go graphic. We go like
Yeah.
showing how it actually looks like to chop a head off. And you in the whole film history that never happened before. So they were really like
Yeah.
front runners. Now it's like even in TV series you have a lot of gore effects where you have like people
Yeah. Yeah.
shot in the head, the brain comes out. That's normal now. Nobody gives a
Yeah.
shit. But at that time
No.
it was a big deal at that time. Right. So
Yeah. Everyone's got desensitized now to it.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean those movies really did lay the groundwork. And I mean, even I'm not a director, of course, but I do write and make my own comic books. I'm a comic book publisher and writer. And those movies, and it's always horror centered in some aspect. And those movies, I mean, they're very foundational and they're very, I don't know, inspiring. They're a big part of who I am. And I think it's so cool that they feed into and laid that groundwork for, what is now.
No, totally. And I mean, it's of course now where we have a lot of CGI also. At that time, everything was practical. So you had
Oh,
like
yeah.
kind of only prosthetics, you had blood effect, blood pumps, and all this stuff. So you had to make it work in a way, right? And I think a lot of the scariness of it, it was also like going to the movies was this kind of like a test, like how much you can take. I remember Maneater.
Yeah.
When I watched the trailer and you have him eating the baby, you think like, oh my God, like, can I even
Yeah.
watch this? And and then even the mainstream was Rosemary's Baby, The Shining, like that was a little later, but then the mainstream took over horror too. Saw it
Yeah.
as a genre, what was before for like famous directors not really existing.
Yeah.
And when Spielberg did Jaws, there was also this kind of, he moved towards like a horror movie in a way, like a creature horror movie. And then we
Yeah.
got all these piranhas, and after Jaws, everything, the hell broke loose. Like they had worms, piranhas, more jaw movies, like more shark movies, and so on. Creature, Orca the killer whale. I love that with Bo Derek. We'll never forget where the orca jumped up and bit the leg off of Bo Derek. And we were like, oh, fuck. And I mean, and it was like this kind of what you don't have anymore. Today I read an article like, oh, nothing worked in the movie theaters anymore because that event factor is gone, right? Everybody is done, and everybody's done 100 times, and now everybody's done also in the movie, in the streaming. So this kind of like, no, we have to go to the movies. That is a little dissolving. That's sad that it's a little dissolving, to be honest, right? So because this was this
100%.
kind of like, TV was not really an option for movie fans to watch a movie at that time when we grew up.
Yeah. It's sad. I think it's weird the way movies have changed, and a lot of it, it's a true like kind of saying, but like it feels like just remakes and like rehashing old stuff just to almost cash in a little bit on that nostalgia factor, just to hopefully bring you in. It's a shame.
Yeah, but I had a discussion with my wife in the car when we drove home, and we both have the gut feeling that it will not stay the way it is right now. I think that we already on the streaming, like kind of in a dead end, that people want to break free of it. You don't want to scroll through Netflix 150,000 fucking movies they post every year, every day. Like where you have like, for me, what happened is in the beginning, everybody was laughing about Apple TV, and everybody is still laughing about HBO. But I think they have the better program, right? So I mean, Apple will not do horror, but whatever is on Apple, whatever is on HBO, that will be not total crap. But there is kind of a people, they think about it before they produce something. And I think especially with Netflix, it goes so down the drain that I scrolled through the stuff and like, what the fuck? Where you have like, you watched the 20th trailer and you still didn't push play, then there's a problem with the program. Where you have to feel like, no, I don't want to watch that. I've watched that 150,000 times. I also don't want to watch so much Korean stuff. I also don't want to watch, like this kind of like where they go for a trend and then you get like inflated with it. And you feel like, no, I mean, I can watch like a movie from India every 2 years, but not every week. Like something like Slumdog Millionaire or whatever, right? So you have something where you feel like, wow, that's interesting. But or you had Squid Games, So, but I cannot have this every week. It's not. These are the total, let's say, exemptions of what I normally want to watch, and so I'm not willing to watch a similar thing to Squid Games every week. It's just too much for me. I feel like, no, I don't need that now. Give me a year break from every Korean Mexican movie done. No, but I really feel like I even feel, so absurd it is, that if Blockbuster would reopen, it would have a shot. So
I agree.
Like the long play records. I still have my record players there for records. I still have Blu-rays and DVDs, right? So, and I feel like if they would reopen strategically, like a retro thing where you go through the app to the you walk by, you see the covers, you see who's in the movie, and then you pick your rental. I think that could work again because of the invasion in streaming. That people would say, no, fuck, I just cannot like have 15 Peacock and Hulu, and it's also expensive now. It's like too
Oh yeah,
expensive, you know.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, people were saying, there was that term going around, cable cutters. They weren't paying for cable no more because it was way cheaper to, sign up to these different streaming platforms. But now, if you were to add up everything you're paying for each streaming platform, it's more expensive than the cable would have been.
100%, 100%.
Yeah,
And
it's
we had
crazy.
like, when you had like this kind of like HBO Showtime, you had 2 times maybe $20, but you had all the good movies. So, all the
Yeah,
theatrical movies came, like in Canada, it's a movie central. So, and so you get this, and then you feel like, no, I don't want to pay 12.29 for Disney Plus, and then you pay 12.29 for Disney Plus, and then 12 like $8 for Apple, and stuff like this. It's in the end way more expensive. You're over $100 out every month,
yep,
basically, if you
yep,
have 4 or 5 streamers. So, and then now horrible also. You remember where they said, "Oh, they got rid of the cable channels. They got rid of," as you said, like you don't want to pay it anymore. And now they do advertising. Like
yep.
fucking Paramount Plus. Like I'm watching Tulsa King right now, and every 5 minutes I see the same fucking 2 spots. The
Yep,
same
yep,
spots. It's not even like in TV where you had different spots. It's the same spot in every advertising break, in everything. And you feel
I
like
know,
it's horrible. It's
I know.
horrible, you know?
It's bizarre. It's bizarre, and they keep coming out with these different, kind of plans. Like, oh, I don't know how much Netflix is anymore. I think it's over $20 a month. I'm pretty sure, and it's just like there's tiers to it now, and it's like you can get the most basic, which is tons of ads, the middle,
Yeah.
which is some ads, or the $20-something one, which is no ad. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
But I think to your point, it's still super true. Where it's just like I think there's this pushback to like that physical media and that like I don't know if it's all nostalgia based, but I think a lot of it is fatigue with the streaming and all that. Whereas like people are going back to buying Blu-rays, people are going back to vinyl collecting, people
Yes.
are going back to even cassette collecting and buying their CDs. And I've always been a big physical media guy. I don't know what it is for me. If I love something, I like to feel like I own that and
Yes.
not it's in the hands of Apple or whoever that can just revoke it from me if I stop paying a fee or whatever it may be. Um,
There
so I
was
mean,
a
I have a huge collection of these things.
Yeah, me too. And there was a huge article a few weeks ago that if you buy something digital, like at Amazon, for example, you don't really own it, right? If, as you
No,
said, if they lose the rights, the overall rights to the thing, it's also disappearing on you. So
yeah,
you got a DVD, it's on my shelf here. That's it, right? So,
yep,
and that's the kind of scam that you think you have something, or you tape it on your hard drive, and then the hard drive gets toast at one point, it's all gone. And then, like
yep,
stuff like this. But the Blu-ray, if you don't break it, it will still play.
yep,
So, and that's the thing. That's my feeling too. It's this kind of like they maxed out on the streaming money wise also, and they think now we can whatever keep growing it, but I think not. I think it will shrink. I think the people will cut the cord, right? They will say like how we cut cable, they will cut streaming,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and that's the thing. And it's also like what we see when you look into the numbers. The numbers are not adding up. All that companies make huge losses. It's not like the best thing ever. Warner Brothers,
yeah,
300 million loss, Lionsgate, 400 million loss, Paramount Plus, 1.2 million loss, 1.2 billion loss. And you think like, what's the point here, right? So, I mean,
yeah,
they are all in the business to to gain an audience. And they're not aware, like, and the audience can change month by month. As soon,
Oh yeah.
for example, especially with Paramount Plus, if there are like 2 or 3 shows I'm watching, as soon the new season is gone, I cancel it. And then
Yeah.
I maybe 6 months later, when more shows are up, I go and sign it again, and you get the bonus because you a new customer or whatever. And the same with Disney Plus, right? So Disney Plus is like, also, you have a few things. If you through it, it's bullshit. You feel like, for what I have this, I'm not watching the Beauty and the Beast. I mean, like, it's like I don't need that. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of a crazy world. What looked like promising, and now it looks like nothing matters anymore. Think about the Frankenstein movie. That's a big movie right now on Netflix,
Yeah.
right? $100 million, Guillermo del Toro, like, the director. But because it's just on Netflix, it has no value. It's not like when Lord of the Rings came in the movie theaters and it was a worldwide thing, or Harry Potter or something, where like for 6 months people were like, that's an event. And now you have nonstop these super expensive movies. They are an event for 1 week.
Yep.
And then they completely disappear. The Catherine Bigelow movie about the House of Dynamite, about the Third World War, whatever, the nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
I read, like, when you go to the press, like for 1 or 2 weeks, New York Times, whatever, everything is full with it. But then I watched it. That's it. Like, it's not like it follows you like The Godfather or Jaws
Yeah.
or Apocalypse Now, or like movies that were like for 2 or 3 years around like the world discussion. That Platoon, whatever, right? That's all gone. Like, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Like, they're getting
Nothing has
blown
that
up.
kind of impact.
Yes, the impact is not there anymore. It's like an impact for a moment, and then you are in oblivion. Like, it's this kind of like, you completely disappear after a week. Like, the House of Dynamite is already out of my search engines. Like, it's like gone. Like, it's like nobody will watch it anymore. Like, it's and I feel like that's kind of the wrong way how we continue in that industry. The wrong way.
Yeah. 100%. I agree completely. I mean, I think even going back into, like 20 years ago, like, I think movies now feel very different from even movies from, the early 2000s. And I don't know, I feel like the early 2000s people maybe were a little more daring, like they dared to, try something a little different, and it just feel like everything now plays it very safe, and in turn a lot of things feel very boring.
Yeah. Yeah, there is also like, of course, with the algorithm, whatever. I had a meeting with a guy from Amazon, and he said everything goes through the algorithm, right? It's like whatever, before you get a green light at Amazon, and Netflix is similar, it goes through their measure thing, right? So it scans the script,
Wow.
and then it goes through, okay, so how many people watched similar stuff before? Like how fast they watched it, how long they watched it. So is it the right diversity in it? Like, I mean, let's say you have a movie where just white guys are dominating. You're already out. It's completely impossible now. So you exclude like all kinds of stuff. Like where like in earlier years, you had filmmakers that had an idea, and if the idea was flying and it was a good story, you maybe made the movie, but it was never the question, is there a transgender person? Or is there also the Asian representation, the black representation, whatever? Nobody gave a fuck. Nobody was ever asking this, because they were just reading the script and thinking that's a good one or not. And not like, yeah, totally. And not like this kind of like, okay, okay, check mark here, check mark here, check mark here. And if these check marks are not there, no matter how good the story is, it's over.
Yeah, if you're not hitting those quotas, diversity quota, whatever it may be. Yeah.
Yeah, it's total bullshit. And you have to think, like, think about Sergio Leone. You know, Once Upon a Time in the West, Once Upon a Time in America, whatever. All the Sergio Leone movies, not one of their movies would get ever produced again. They were like white guys in the mafia, white guys in
Yeah.
the Wild West, Clint Eastwood,
Yeah.
for a fistful of dollars, whatever. So Sergio Leone would not had a career in today's time at all.
Yeah. That is crazy to think about it like that, especially with someone as prolific as him.
Yeah,
That's funny.
but then it should be, and I think it should be. Look, indirectly, when I see, look, I made 40 movies now, 40, and we always had black, Asian, gay people, because we never gave a shit if somebody is good at the work, right? So
You hire them.
absolutely, it's like the idea to have a quota of race, religion, skin color is already the opposite of what is necessary. Because normally, like, let's say you're a normal human being, you don't give a shit from what country somebody comes, as long as he's good at his job.
Yeah.
So and or whatever. I never asked somebody, are you gay? Whatever, like, it's completely absurd. It's a subject matter of a job. And it's like, I don't care if you're gay. If you're here working as a production designer, and you do a good job, great. So that's I think that mentality now went totally off track to this kind of like, now you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this. And I think we need to break free of this again. We have to say, no, it doesn't matter where you come from, what skin color you have, what race, what religion you have. It doesn't matter. We are here together to make a movie, and that's your job. So, and I feel like we need really this kind of intern revolution, where you have this kind of like, we have to break free of it, and we have to say, look, what really matters is if people work good together, and what really matters is what story you want to tell, and if people like that story, right? So, and that's the same, and not like, oh, if you don't fulfill all that check marks, we cannot work with you.
100%. I agree. And that's been something I felt strongly about for a long time. I think it hinders it, and I think it makes the movies feel less authentic. And when you feel like someone is shoehorned in, it makes you more resistant to it. If it was just like, this character's gay because that's what makes sense, or this character's black because that's what makes sense.
Yeah.
You love it, it's great. You're like, that's awesome. But when you're watching something and you're like, okay, this actually makes no sense, or this was just thrown in there just to appease whatever it may be, it's frustrating. It actually does, at least for me, hinder the experience and enjoyment of watching the movie, because I feel like, just like you said, just make the movie, make a good movie, make it make sense, make it believable.
And you have, like, especially on Netflix too, right? So they have this quotas, and you feel like, so you watch a show, what plays whatever in Tennessee, right? And one of the cops has to be transgender, and you think like, yeah, but the chance that in a little rural city in Tennessee, Chattanooga, you have a transgender cop, this chance is way under 0.1%, period. Right? So why then I need to write that part in? Why?
Yeah.
What? It's just completely throwing everybody off. Because it makes everybody thrown off. Like all the other actors, and especially if you're like in a normal, like you're the cop, you're the detective, you're a murder detective, but your colleague has to be transgender. Like, it throws you completely off, because you feel like, That's just bullshit. It's just not in reality
Yeah.
happening, right? So, and
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
fulfill this. And I think that's the main issue here. The main issue is that it's like, if something makes sense, right? Let's say you make a movie about New York, Greenwich Village, whatever, in the 80s or 90s, that you have a lot of gay people, that you have a lot of, like whatever, that is 100% correct. You do like The
Yeah.
Jews with James Franco, that TV show. You have a lot of gay people, whatever. 100%. Like there is no question about it. But that's the
Yeah.
subject matter what determines it. But determines it.
Yeah.
But if you say whatever you shoot, yeah, you say like whatever, Stalingrad, Second World War, like Russians against Germans, and now like
Yeah.
no, you have to get some Asians. You have to get, and you said, but there was not one Asian in fucking Stalingrad. There was also not one
Yeah.
black and no Arabs. There was Russians and Germans, right? So, and you feel
Yeah.
like that makes the movie absurd.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's the
Of
thing.
course.
For example, when Shonda Rhimes came up with Bridgerton, right? So you have the English royals, and now they're all black. Sure. And
Yeah.
I think that whole show got only done based on we make them all black.
Yeah.
Like that was the kicker. Like,
Yeah.
we make them all black. Let's see what it is. I mean, I don't care if it was an experiment. Why not? Right? So they can go so off the track. But a lot of things, you have the feeling they're just getting done to be political correct, and not
Yeah.
done because it makes any sense.
Yeah. 100%. I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more.
Yeah.
But I'm glad someone out there shares my opinions and mindset as well.
Yeah.
But
And I think there is the absurd thing is that they are fighting about it. I think there should be no fighting about it. I think everybody should do it the way they want, right? So if Shonda
Yeah.
Rhimes wants to do it this way, I have no problem with it. But also don't interfere with people. They say we do now Dirty Harry, and there will be no black person.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so sorry, but I think it fits better if Dirty Harry and his colleagues at the police department are all white. So whatever, right? Then people should not say no. Then it cannot be produced. So you can only lose if you, as a director, don't have the right feeling for what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. But pivoting away from that slightly,
Yeah.
I want to talk about House of the Dead specifically. That was my first introduction to you as a director, and what got me started watching so many of your films. And the thing that drew me to it was, as I said, I'm 22, so when I think it was like House of the Dead 2, maybe it was the first one, I can't remember, but that was one of the very first video games I ever played. I think it was on the PS1, and you had the little gun controller and whatever, and that was one of the first games I ever played that, and I mean, I'm a lifelong gamer. Video games are like super important to me and a big part of who I am. And that was one of those first games that really set me on that path to enjoy that passion I have for the games. So when I saw your movie, I hadn't, obviously, I believe it came out in 2003.
Yeah.
Which is when I was born. So I didn't even, I didn't see it when it came out. I saw it probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Me and my cousin, I mean, he's like a brother to me, and the big thing we always bond over is just watching a horror movie.
Yeah.
So we turned on House of the Dead, and I don't know, like, I've seen so many video game adaptation movies where I don't feel like I'm watching what's the right word? I don't feel like I'm watching an authentic, like, recreation, I suppose, of the game. It doesn't feel like a game. It feels like just another action movie or something.
Yeah.
But what I loved about House of the Dead, your movie House of the Dead, was it felt like I was playing the game almost, but I was watching the movie, and up until that point, I hadn't felt that way about watching a video game adaptation, and it hit that nostalgic nerve almost, because I felt, it reminded me of being a little kid.
Yeah.
It was literally like the game had come to life and stuff. So it was really cool for me to watch that. It was a cool experience. So I would just love to talk about like your vision behind the movie, and what did it mean to you at the time.
I mean, I played it in the arcades, right, where you sit in the whole
Yeah,
box, you have the guns, and you shoot it.
yeah,
And when I got like approached with from Mindfire Entertainment, who owned the rights to the game, and Sega was behind it, and I said, "Look, we want to do this." Then I looked at the script, and I said, "Look, but I want to do it like, for example, cutting the video game footage in and stuff like
yeah,
this, and do it also what you have in the game. When somebody's dead, you have to you turn around, he's out,
yeah, yeah,
you know, all that stuff where I got very much attacked from the reviewers when the movie came out.
yeah,
They're like, how
yeah,
could you do that? It's ridiculous, whatever. And I said, look, we did Dawn of the Dead. We did House of the Dead based on the Sega video. So, and
yeah,
so I snapped things up from the game and brought it into the movie. Of course, you still have to do the movie for the people also who never played the game, who just think I want to watch a zombie action movie. So I
yeah,
do a House
yeah,
of that. So you want to do both, and so and I always were fighting back against this kind of hate and resistance, right? And they said, look, I just don't get you, to be honest. It's like it reflects the game how it is. You have, of course, in the game, you shoot zombies. We have massive action in House of the Dead, like with a lot with the
oh yeah,
set up, like where the thing where the guy throws the axe, gets like shot in the air, like stuff
yeah,
like this. And I always, when people say, oh, you got so bad reviews, I say, no, I'm very proud of the movie. And so I'm
yeah,
proud of Alone in the Dark or Blood Rain or whatever. And I said, look, what I didn't did is I never pussied out when it comes to violence. All my movies
hmm,
are harsh R-rated movies. I said it's not like that I ever tried, like, look, Assassin's Creed, Prince of Persia, all that PG shit, where you have the
yeah,
feeling like they just want to serve the wide audience and lose the games, like, kind of,
yeah,
so.
oh yeah,
And over the years, when now we want to do another one, as like the 23 years later, like the
yeah,
homage to House of the Dead, I felt like when I talked to other podcasts too and so on, and I was in Hamburg 2 weeks ago, and there were like 200 people watching the movie, paid ticket to watch it, right? And we did a podcast,
yeah,
German horror podcast about it. So they loved it. There was the atmosphere in the room with the 200 audience, and it was a long time before where I saw it on the big screen again, and I loved it
yeah,
too. It's so entertaining. It's never boring. It's the opposite to a lot of these $200 million movies now, where you
hmm,
see like, oh
yep,
my god, I start sleep. I cannot believe it. It's continuing. Look at Borderlands, right? So where you watch it and you think like, what the fuck is happening here? So, and
yeah,
I went always for, like, I make movies straight in your face, right? So it's this kind of rampage, whatever. I'm not Terrence Malick. I'm not the guy who talks in miracles, who talks in symbols. I'm the guy who just puts it out there right in front of you. And I
yeah,
think the biggest crime as a filmmaker you can do is to bore the audience. And exactly that crime is now 80% of the people. Like 80% of
yeah,
the movies, they are boring. It's like boring shit. And you watch this and you think, oh, that got an Oscar nomination. And you think, based on what? I was like looking at my emails after an hour the whole time because I just couldn't take it anymore. And I think,
yeah,
and I think House of the Dead is the classical kind of campy horror, very bloody, very action orientated video game based movie, what I enjoy. And
yeah,
the funny thing is, when you look at this on Prime, go on Alone is like Blood Rain, whatever, In the Name of the King, like Dungeon Siege. So on Amazon, all my movies are not trashed. they are like 4 points, 4.4 points, 4.2 from out of 5. They got very higher ratings as on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes, where the sophisticated reviewers talk about it. And so they're way higher rated. And all the time when they're running, like, oh, number 5 on Prime, 20 years after the movie's done. Right, so they're re-releasing it on Prime. I don't really have an influence to it, but then I see like somebody emails me, look at Fuck Right, number 5 right now on Prime. Right, so and so is that really a lot of times with old movies that they're making it up in the top 10? No, they're making it up in the top 10. I think because they're very entertaining.
Yeah,
and
100%.
people enjoy it. You start watching and think, yeah, I keep watching it. Right, so and that's the thing, And I feel that. That got a little lost in the last 10 years of the filmmakers. I think they don't have it in them anymore to entertain the audience.
Yeah.
They're more like, oh, I have to make Steve Jobs happy. I mean, Steve Jobs is dead, but whatever the Apple boss.
Someone,
I want to be in a festival circus. I want a Vanity Fair loves my movie. But they don't ask anymore, would my 15 years old kid love that film? And that's the thing. What I mean, in the old days, like whatever, Escape from New York from John Carpenter, Sold, as I said, The Thing, they never had the problem to be entertaining. They were all entertaining. Halloween, Friday the 13th, right? They were all entertaining. They were like 95 minutes long and not 2.5 hours. Now, like every insane. It's you feel also like nobody wants to watch this kind of movies for 2.5 hours. They spend so much money to make endless long movies where you feel. I mean, I have to say, even Sinners. Let's say Sinners was a huge success, right? And I cannot say I didn't like Sinners. Sinners was a good movie, but for 50 minutes in the beginning, I was watching that film and was like, "What the fuck is happening?" Nothing is happening. And I was thinking, like, if that would be John Carpenter movie or whatever, like, they would be already, whatever, in a restaurant and kill each other. I mean, that's the... It's like, why is that so slow? For what reason? It's like, totally... And it's also not like it... I mean, you keep watching it because it got, like, it is a success, it will get bloody, so you keep watching. But overall, I was watching in an airplane, and I was like, is that really Sinners? What made hundreds of millions of dollars? So I was really thinking, like, is there actually something happening now or not? And then I went to watch, you eat at the airplane, you look at the newspaper, you go to the washroom, and it was still playing forward. And then it started, and then it was good. When it gets bloody, it gets good, right? It gets tension. But why? Why not moving straight into it? And that's the reason, when the Sega released that they do a new House of the Dead movie with Paul Anderson, the guy from Monster Hunter, Resident Evil, whatever. I felt like, let's send an email to the old cast from my movie and just ask, would you do this again? Would you come back to do House of the Dead again? And I was overwhelmed because the reviews were not good at the point, but everybody like, I'm 100% Tyron Letzer, Will Sanders, Jonathan Sherry, Elizabeth Rose, whatever, Ona Grauer, whoever emailed, Clint Howard, like, totally. So they had all the blasts shooting it. And I said, look, so now we have to create a story where most of you are dead, actually, so you're zombies now, but we can make you a little more evolved so you can talk a little, right? So you're not like brainless zombies. Then it maybe wouldn't do it. But Jonathan Sherry was the only survivor, so he has now a family. And so we can do this again. And I felt like doing kind of a indie, gory, campy competition to that big new movie, what they do about House of the Dead. I think it makes sense because, I'm not the biggest Paul Anderson fan. I think Resident Evil 1 and 2, they were okay. The rest I had a hard time watching. And I think also, like this kind of, he will use a lot of CGI. And he said also, it will be so scary, it will be so big, whatever. And I think that's totally wrong for House of the Dead. That's already totally wrong. You need to
Yeah.
make it like this kind of, you know, when the audience says, how can the guy goes in? You know, like you need this kind of campy, half funny,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and I felt like when I pitched that in Hamburg in front of the 200 people, they were like flipping out. And they're like, yes, do this. That would be better as the $50 million House of the Dead, right? So
Yeah, of course it will be.
we did the on ballfilms.com. You can like do a little crowdfunding, but we do Indiegogo. We do another campaign also coming up now, like a crowdfunding. And of course, now when I go to LA tomorrow to the film market, I hope I can get some pre-sales. You know, I contacted everybody who bought the first one and say, look, everybody, even we cannot say it's House of the Dead number 2 or 3 or whatever. Even
It's just...
But everybody, when you see the cast and you know it's an Uwe Boll and you know it's Return
You know what's going
from
on.
the Island, everybody will know it. You know, and I think we have a chance here to get the same amount of attention and press as that $50 million movie. That's my point.
I think so too. I think so too.
You know, when the people...
I think, like you said, that campiness and like going so big with it and trying to make it something it's not. Like literally, like what you did with the original. Keep it true. You keep it true to the game, and you feel like I said, like how I felt watching it. Like you feel like you're playing the game, but it's the movie. And that's what it is. If it's going to be some ultra horror, you know, Walking Dead meets whatever, you know, like that's just not House of the Dead. So I think it has every chance of success.
I tell you right now what he will do. He will do something what will be more like The Last of Us. And it will be a disaster. You know, and it will be like, because it will be not so good as The Last of Us, what I actually really like. I mean, the first season I really liked. The second season was now, I think they should just stop it now. But, you know, it was like, when the Pedro Pascal dies, for me, it was over. But he died in the game too, so what you want to do. But third season will be a disaster. Nobody will watch it.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
But I think he will go as he did in the Monster in his last movies. They're all tanked, right? So the Paul Anderson's movies, they're all tanked the last 10 years. And I think he will think as bigger as better. But that's the deadly error, right? So that's the thing where the audience will give a shit about every single person going there. But when you have My House of the Dead, you care about the people. Like you think, oh my God.
Oh,
yeah. You know, like the Will Sanderson character. When he's like, he wants to fuck in the tent, he wants to fuck the girl. And then he wants to pee, and he wants to pee in the tent. Like everybody in Hamburg, like, were like watching and like, what the fuck is wrong with him? He would go outside of the tent to pee and go back in, you know. And she says it, like she says this, what are you doing? I said, I have to pee. And she's like, are you fucking insane? But that makes the movie. This kind of total absurdity, you know, that you have das Boot Jürgen Prochnow. I hope I can get it back. He's 83. I don't know if he wants to come back, if he's still able to do it. But, I mean, you know, the captain. So they're all individual, totally different, strange characters, but they're all interesting to watch. And, you know, and I feel like it's basically also the only film I ever made in the last 15 years where my wife said, that's a good idea. And she always she tracks me on social media and stuff, right? And she said, the most social media traction has House of the Dead from all my movies I did, from all of them. So, and she said the biggest, like Reddit, whatever, you know, like all this kind of stuff is House of the Dead. And she said also, you have to do that movie. And this is what I said. Like I said, like when the actors say yes, we will get it done. We will do it. And when they said yes, I said, look, but my plan is to do this in like March, April, and to go out Halloween. You know, it doesn't need like this kind of 2,500 screens. But I think on Halloween, to put it out for even if it's a week, right? I think people will go and watch that. Next year,
100%.
They will say like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe it." That's
Yeah,
the
it's
thing.
coming back.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
party movie. It's also a movie where you go after to the Halloween party, like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
before or after trick or treat and stuff. And I think that that's the chance with the movie, and that what we aiming for basically. Yeah,
Yeah. I think that's going to be awesome. I can't wait to watch that. I'm so happy you're doing that. Like, I feel like that's such a cool, like, just such a cool thing to do, to revisit it. And I think it's funny that it's going to be kind of rivaling the new one,
yeah,
but on a way smaller budget. I think it's perfect. And I think, just like you said, I have a very good feeling that it will do incredibly well. And I think it will probably be overall more well received as well. Just
yeah,
because, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's going to be all the new fans. I think there's a lot of people my age that are kind of sick and tired of the same rehashed crap over and over and over again. Like you said, if it's going to feel like the Last of Us, the new one,
yeah,
it's been done. Like you said, it's going to feel like an imitation. And a lot of movies now feel like imitations because
yeah,
everything's been done for the most part, it feels like. There's nothing prolific anymore. So I think if you're going to have something that feels like this imitation, something we've seen a million times before, you're not only going to be able to catch the eye of people my age that maybe didn't grow up with House of the Dead and didn't see your original. They'll be excited to see something new. They'll be excited to see something fresh and that isn't just the same old rehashed crap. It would also probably serve another purpose of them going back and rewatching the original, because they'll be like, oh wow, this is kind of like the spiritual successor, all but name. And then you'll have all the old people, not old people, but like people like me, the old fans,
yeah,
that watched the first one, and they're going to be super excited and hyped to watch this one. So I think you're going to be catching on to a lot of different audiences, and it's going to have a wide range of appeal. I really, really look forward to seeing that. And I think releasing it over Halloween, I think that's a genius idea, because, like you said, it's going to be a very watchable thing where you could go, and it's going to be like part of the festivities almost,
and I think also like the for everybody who like, I mean, of course I approached Lionsgate, who had the first one, right, and
Yeah.
they didn't say yes or no so far, but I told them also, like, look, the theaters will book it, right, because it's
Oh,
Halloween
yeah.
and it's House of the Dead. It's not like the hardest way, or who will play the movie. Of course they will play the
Yeah.
movie, right? So
Yeah.
if it totally tanks after a week, it's all over. But I don't think it will totally tank, and that's the
No.
thing, right? So, and I said also the times totally changed. When the movie did $11.8 million box office, they said, "Oh God, that was not really successful." But look at the box office now. I mean, like,
Yeah.
the last 10 years was 11 million box office was a movie, what was $7 million production budget. I would be the star. The people would say that was a success, right? So, yeah, for real. I mean, you have now movies like, look at the Smashing Machine with The Rock. 55
Yeah.
million production box budget, and you have The Rock, and nobody watched it. So, I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing. You have hundreds of movies with A-list stars with budgets between 40 and 150 million bucks who made nothing. Like,
Yeah.
they're like dead silence on the Western Front, basically, So,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and that's the thing. It's also what I think, but that's good. Like, your generation too. And a lot of people I talk to are, of course, younger as me, and they say, look, the times change. We know
Yeah.
now what like, better what has a chance and what not. And I think
Yeah.
that the old days are in a way over. And I mean, in a way, indirectly, thanks to the streaming, people are more aware now what is original and what
Yep.
really is worth to watch, or what is
Yep.
totally, as you said, you have the feeling AI writes all that script, and
Yeah.
and then you see the same shit 24/7, and you say, okay, so, but why I should watch this now again and again and again? I want to see something different, and
Yeah.
it's the reason that I said we need to do only practical effects. We have to do like almost no CGI in the new House of the Dead movie. It has to be the classical blood pump I blow your head off. Say, and not, and not this kind of, now we have 10,000 zombies attacking because it's so
Yeah.
easy. You push a button and then you have 10,000 zombies. That's not the way to do it.
No. Practical effects are always the way to go. That when I hear a movie has practical effects, I'll usually give it a chance because it's just like, I don't know, it feels different. It feels more real, I guess. It's more believable to me. It's
And also,
always the way to go.
it's the reason also in my action movies, whatever, I use scripts, right? So with blood effects, whatever, and they're all like Alec Baldwin, everybody got killed. Total bullshit, right? They had like Alec Baldwin was a total fuck up from everybody, and that's not normal. I shot 10,000 people in my movies, and there was never an accident because we use blanks and not real ammunition. I mean, you cannot have real ammunition on a film set, period. And then you have, but for the actors, if it makes bang and it comes blood out, they act better. If you now do electro guns with no noise and you have no blood, no explosion, and you do it all in post-production, the actors are not acting real. They like,
no, of course.
Hard, it's different to like boom, and you see the blood coming out, and you hear a bang, and it scares you the moment you get shot. And I film you dying, basically. That it's more realistic. It's better.
100%. You'd be able. It's almost more like acting on a stage at that point.
Yes.
And I mean, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's another huge bad thing what happened based on after the Alec Baldwin thing, that everybody now makes everything later in post-production, and everybody's pissing in their pants to shoot a blank, and you feel like that's the most absurd thing I ever saw. Nothing can happen. I mean, it's totally absurd.
Yeah, it wasn't a blank. It wasn't.
It was a bullet.
Yeah.
And it was, a woman was 23 years old, and they were like in the desert and shot real ammunition, and then they mixed up the ammunition, and it was all a total disaster. And so, and that's the thing. It's like, you cannot stop the whole movie industry doing what they did for 80 years based on one incident like this.
No.
It's insane.
No. And it was just carelessness at the end of the day. So, like,
Yeah. So,
it is crazy.
100%. I want to advertise my movie Run, what comes out on the 14th of November, right?
Okay.
So on Amazon, Apple, and Google, but in over 100 countries at the same time, 5 different languages. And it's a drop. It has a lot of action. It's very violent, actually, in the end. But it's that boat migration situation in Europe. Where all that boats, you have 50,000 people, they're drowned in the ocean already, they're dead, trying to get on the little boats from Africa to Europe. And so my movie plays in a little tourist town, and you have like Americans like Amanda Plummer, James Russo, Marcus Henderson from Get Out, Barkat Abdi from Captain Phillips. So very good cast. And so you have like the boat coming in, and then one guy takes a hostage. 2 other guys are kind of drug dealers, and a pregnant girl gets saved by Amanda Plummer. And so everything happens in one day when the boat comes in, and it shows the chaos, it shows the different storylines, and it shows also that kind of migration turned into a lose-lose situation for everybody involved. Like the local businesses go down, the communities cannot handle so many refugees anymore, and at the same time the refugees getting completely cheated by the smugglers. They're paying thousands of euros to get on their boats, and then half of them, they get raped on the boat, they get thrown off the boat. I show all of this, and then you have also this idea: I'm coming into Europe, and now whatever, I get a Ferrari, right? So I mean, it's just kind of the expectations balloony bullshit explodes, and all the migration movies in Europe who win all the prizes at the film festivals are all pro-migration. If you want to have an Oscar nomination, you show the poor migrants who are basically, they want to work for the NASA, and they're coming in, and they're all good. So, and I made the only movie what shows both sides. When
Yeah.
you have most of the refugees or whatever migrants, similar to the US, they want a better life. It's not like they're fucking criminals. They just want a better life, right? So, and there's nothing like where you can say, no, they're all rapists. They're all pieces of shit. No, it's not. That's not true. So, but there are rapists. Some. There are some criminals. There are some drug gangsters, right? So it's the percentage, where you see you cannot seriously say everybody who wants to come over is like Mother Teresa or no, it's not.
Yeah.
You have the bad apples and the good apples coming in, and the thing to come illegal into a country similar to the US is something that's not okay. Overall, you need rules. You need okay, if we have no more borders, then nobody gives a fuck, and then nobody controls anything anymore in the whole world. So, but you also cannot come into the country illegally and then benefit from healthcare, benefit from housing, benefit from food stamps or something like this. And that's the thing. And, when I think about Trump, I think Trump is doing exactly what he promised. He will finish the illegal migration. He did that. And, and yes, are there also people now maybe getting removed from ICE who are settled, have a job, pay taxes and everything? I would say that's idiotic. If you drag a teacher out of the classroom who's a teacher in an American school and pays his taxes, why you should throw him out of the country? It doesn't make any fucking sense at all, right? So that's the thing. So for me, in Europe, the same. I draw the line where if somebody is putting positive efforts in and creates money, has a job, pays taxes, have a family, is responsible, even if he came in illegally, I would make him legal. I would say, look, you proved you're a good one, right? So, but if you do a crime, you're out. That's the thing. It's like, then it's like, no, we're not having you 5 years in our prison and spend $550,000 for you. You go in an airplane and you go back to Venezuela, El Salvador, whatever, and you're out. That's the thing. It's like and I think in Europe, the idea should be the same. Like where you're like, if you abuse the system, we deport you. And but the point is, if you say this, what I just said, you are a right-wing Nazi. That's the thing. I think that's the biggest problem in the politics right now, is that common sense got completely lost. And now you have completely two sides who are both totally radical in a wrong way.
Yeah, everyone's super polarized and no progress is being made because everyone isn't willing to compromise or listen to any rational thoughts. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, you have look, I just shot in New York, right? First Shift 2 and 3.
Yeah.
The two more parts of that First Shift film I did, the cop.
Yeah.
So when you live in, I lived in an Airbnb, and it was a really bad in Brooklyn. And it was like $5,500 for a month, right? And you have a real shithole. Like it was a real bad apartment. And you feel like, if this costs $5,500, how can normal people live here? Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, because you cannot go way lower in your apartment level, one bedroom, little kitchen, So and then you go in the supermarket in New York, and like 4 bananas are $8, and you feel like, okay, now I know why the Ramdami or whatever the name is, who got elected for mayor, when he said like, we need a rent freeze, you can use the bus for free, we need whatever, everything he promises. I don't think he will keep up his promises, but I totally understand why people voted for him.
Because it's a very appealing way of life.
Yes. No, because 90% of the people in New York City are fucked. They barely make it through the next paycheck. They're like completely living with 8 people in shit apartments together because it's all too expensive. The food, the especially the rent. And so you cannot have a city only working for people who make $500,000 a year. Then
No,
the
of
city
course.
has to change. Then the whole setup
Yeah.
has to change, because these people who make so much money, they still want the guy working at Starbucks for them. They still want the waiter. They still want the Uber Eats guy or the Uber driver or what. They want all their people there, because if all their people leave, and you have only, let's say, 10,000 multimillionaires living in Manhattan, and the rest, there is nobody left. They're
Yeah, it's
fucked.
gonna roll into chaos.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're fucked.
Yeah.
And that is what I
Yeah.
feel is like this kind of, it's obvious that the last few years, the super rich got way too rich. Like
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
rich. I remember when Bill
100%.
Gates had $10 billion and was the richest man of the world, was $10 billion. Now $10 billion, people like, what the fuck? We have only 10 billion.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that went off the charts. That's absurd and not okay. And
Yeah.
and it doesn't. We all know it doesn't help to raise the taxes for the super rich. They go to offshore. They say, I live in Bermudas. I don't pay taxes. Shit like this. They have
Yeah.
all the options, right? So that doesn't work.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. But you need kind of a social, like, meeting in the middle, where you bring their responsibility to the table, and you tell them what I just told to you. Like, so you want empty Manhattan, and you're only there with your $10 million buddies, and you will see 95% of the restaurants are closed. You will see, like, all this life is gone.
Yeah. All the essential workers would be gone because they're not getting paid enough. Absolutely. 100%.
And that's the thing. And I think that's a problem worldwide, where you have this kind of the life gets unlivable. Mostly, I have to say, it's in Germany the same. Canada, it's extreme. In the US, more and more, that the daily costs are too high. Like the gasoline, the electricity, the rent, and the food. It's too much now. It's just off the charts, and that has to stop. That has to stop, and it has to stop either or. Like, you have to get the products cheaper, you offer it cheaper, or you kind of subsidize it for the people. You cannot have $8 for 4 bananas. That's the end.
No.
That's just absurd. And I think in the last 10 years, the price explosion, especially in food, is insane. And it's also one of the reasons with the movie theaters, I think, why people go less to the movies. It got too expensive.
Yeah. I mean, with the movie theaters, before, they used to be a good activity you could do with the family, and you could take your kids, and it wasn't too expensive of an activity to go, and it was good joy for everyone, and it got the kids chilling, it got the parents get to enjoy a good movie. It was great. But I mean, I worked in a movie theater for a while, and the prices are insane. I mean, it's $9 for one soda.
Yeah.
It's let alone the tickets. I mean, the tickets are like $20 each. So right there, if you have a family of even 3, if it's the parents and a kid, that's $60 on tickets. That's $60 before you go in, and you can even get your kid a drink, or you could get your kid a popcorn. Forget the popcorn; it's like $12. Like it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I once had a family of, I think, 12 people coming in to go see a IMAX movie or something. I think they spent something like, after all getting drinks with the IMAX, I think they spent about $600. $600 at the movie theater? $600 to go see whatever it was, at the F1 movie or something? Like it's just crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It makes no sense.
That are prices we paid for concerts before, like live concerts.
Yeah.
I mean, now with times of Taylor Swift, that's off the charts too. If you go with 8 people to Taylor Swift, you can buy a BMW from that money. So it's like completely, it's really totally absurd. And you feel like, I think I agree. It's like when I mean, when I went to the movies a lot, you can say you paid around $8 a ticket, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe $2.50 for a Diet Coke or whatever, right? So, and then
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
$2.50 for like a medium popcorn. So you were in
Yeah.
with $15, and you had to drink popcorn and you watched the movie. That's now
Yeah.
at least double, at least, you know.
More.
Yeah,
Definitely more.
definitely.
I mean, literally, that $15 that gets you all that wouldn't even pay for your ticket now. You know? I
So
mean,
you're
it's
on-
ridiculous.
Yes, that's crazy. And yeah, but that's a huge problem, and because of course the normal paychecks went only up 2 or 3% per year, you know, and
Yeah.
not like 20-30%. So now it's
Yeah.
all off the charts, and I have to say that's very, like, it's the wrong track. So, but I don't want socialism, right? I don't want communism. I don't want that the Mandami guy, in a way, let's say, who wins all of America, you know, like, because the end is always the same in communism, that some party people owns everything. The you know, like the billionaires are gone instead of Putin has it all. You know, like that's
Yeah.
the other problem. It's not like you exchange it with freedom and you help the people. No, you only
Yeah.
switch ownership from the billionaires away to the dictator or to the Politburo, right? So they have some
Yeah.
bureaucrats, they control it all. So, and then that's always the end of everything. So I think it's so obvious that we need a deal where
Yeah.
everybody can exist, and where if you put the work in, you actually have a real benefit of it. You know, like that's
Yeah.
that's another problem. What I think a lot of people are just like hanging back and living from the system. You know, that's
Yeah.
we have that in
Oh yeah.
Germany a lot, where they say, look, if I work, I make $2,000 a month. If I don't work, I get $1,500 a month. Why I should work?
Yeah.
You know, it's just too
Yeah.
close to each other that people say, I'm not working 40 hours a week if I make only $500 more, as
Yeah.
I would get if I just sit home and wait for it.
Yeah.
And that's also a thing that has to change. Now, yeah. So we can talk anytime again. I think it was a great talk. Actually, I enjoyed it a lot. And,
Absolutely. I appreciate it too. Seriously, like I said, I appreciate you making the time. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, especially next week. So I appreciate you joining me. Real quick, what are the best ways for the audience to support you?
yeah, if in
Yeah.
Amazon, Apple, or on November 14, that would be good. And then if you go on ballfilms.com, it's my website, and you see 23 years later, Return to Zombie Island, you click it on, and then you see all the perks you can get and all the what the plan is with the movie. And as I said, Indiegogo campaign is hopefully going online next week. I mean, it would be great, you know, to do that movie in March, April. I mean, it could be that Lionsgate gets in, and then the crowdfunding is not the key, you know.
Yeah.
But the crowdfunding could really help to get a little more money together, no matter what, to
100%.
make it bigger. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I will be including all the links Uwe just mentioned there. Make sure to check them out. They'll be in the description. Check them out. Support the movies. Check out the crowdfunding page. Like he mentioned, there's some cool perks down there for you to check out. And Uwe, I appreciate you joining me, man. It was really great having you on.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. And check us out in the next episode of Games, Guts, and Gore.
A podcast of terror, a haunting delight, unveiling the darkness in the dead of night. Horror movies and games, a macabre blend in the world of fear. Our souls descend